So, now that you understand the possible problems with synchronization issues, I'm going to teach you how to fix those synchronization issues so that you can have very stable and solidly robust tests that don't break under every single condition. And then you can comfortably report your automated functional tests and their results to your bosses. Now, Selenium WebDriver provides us a few mechanisms for dealing with synchronization issues. Right now, we're going to cover one of those methods, and that's known as an implicit wait. We're going to cover these properties of the implicit wait, and I urge you strongly to remember these properties of the implicit wait because it's going to help you to further understand the difference between implicit wait and the other different kinds of waits that Selenium WebDriver provides us so that you can actually understand the difference. So, what is an implicit wait? Well, an implicit wait, the idea was actually taken from water. And no, I don't mean water like H2O. I mean water, the automated functional testing tool. And an implicit wait, what it did in water, just like it does in Selenium WebDriver, is it constantly polled the DOM to check for the presence of an element. And if that element wasn't present within a certain period of time, then the implicit wait method throws an exception. That's exactly what the Selenium WebDriver method does. It is a method provided to us by Selenium WebDriver that will constantly pull the DOM until an element is present or it throws an exception. Now, that begs the question, how long is it going to wait for the element to be present? Well, that depends on the implementation of the method. And the way you implement it is easy because Selenium WebDriver provides us that method directly. So, right here we have implemented the implicit wait, which has been directly provided to us by Selenium WebDriver. So when you implement an implicit wait, you implement this exact method. That's how you know you've used an implicit wait versus a different kind of wait. And this implicit wait method takes a struct, which is a time span object, and you can specify many different values here that I will show you in the code in the future. But the full implementation looks something like this. And it's gonna, here, it means that it's going to wait for a full 5 seconds. So that is how long an implicit wait is going to wait for this element to be present. Therefore, this means that when you use the find element method, on whatever element you want to find, it's going to wait for a maximum period of 5 seconds for the element to appear before throwing an exception. Now, how often is it going to be checking for this element? Well, that's the tricky part because that implementation depends on the driver. So therefore, if you're using Safari driver or Chrome driver or Edge driver, each of those is going to have its own implementation, maybe possibly causing some flakiness issues for you when you're doing something like cross-browser testing. But let's say you've implemented your implicit wait for a maximum time of 5 seconds, and you look for an element and that element doesn't appear. Well, what exception is going to be thrown? Well, that is the no such element exception is going to be thrown when the element is not found. One very important thing to remember about an implicit wait is its default value. This is critical for you to remember because it's going to help you to understand the disadvantages that we're going to discuss in the future. The default value of an implicit wait is 0. What this implies is that when you do not set an implicit wait and you use the find element method, it will poll for an interval of 0 seconds before throwing a no such element exception, meaning that it will immediately check for an element. If it's not there, it's going to throw a no such element exception, unless you actually specify the implicitly wait timeout. The other key factor to remember about an implicit wait is that it lives for the lifetime of the driver. This means that if you set this implicit wait timeout up here, no matter how many elements you find on a page, they're all going to be polled for a maximum time of 5 seconds. Let me show you an example. If we take a look at this amazing website over here, and I'm joking, of course. Did you guys see that when it loaded, it didn't load all at once? Let me do that again. There are elements that load up here and then elements that load down here. And then, even if I scroll down, there are elements that load on the scroll. So the page is not loaded all at once. It is loaded pieces at a time. And that is common in today's World Wide Web, just to make the user experience better. But if we have set an implicit wait of 5 seconds, for example, anytime you try to find an element here or find an element there, or find an element that's loading much later than the others, it's going to wait for a maximum period of 5 seconds before throwing that no such element found exception. So that's what that means, that it lives for the lifetime. You basically set it once and then it's going to last for the rest of the lifetime. Now, those are the properties of an implicit wait. What is the advantage of an implicit wait? Well, the advantage of an implicit wait is that it's really easy to start using. If you're having intermittency issues throughout your test, just go ahead and set an implicit wait. Put it for the maximum amount of time that you think your application should be loading for, and then let your test run. It will surely fix a lot of the problems. Because now, each of the find element methods is going to take a certain period of time to find those elements. And hopefully that period of time is long enough for you not to have any issues. Now, the disadvantages I'm actually going to cover in a few minutes, because the disadvantages are really important. But if you have any other questions regarding what was just covered here, I have a blog post on my website. Here is the short URL. Please keep in mind that it is case sensitive, so you have to type this case in exactly. But if you forget, it looks exactly like this here. On my website, ultimateqa.com, explicit versus implicit wait in Selenium WebDriver, I have a detailed description of all of the waits covered one by one with their properties. Just in case you forget, but I am sure that you're not going to forget. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the code so that we can implement what we actually just talked about.